Thanks to the Wicked Witch of the West, witches forever now will be associated with dark flowing robes and brimmed pointed hats. Even in the most contemporary media, we still see the use of this aesthetic when coding fashion to be read as witch, as both seen in the Harry Potter series and American Horror Story. But where did the iconic look come from? And what are its roots? The earliest depictions of witches with brimmed hats come from the Victorian era. Artists, while illustrating fairy tales, opted to use this in conjunction with the crone look. But where did the inspiration come from? Why pointed hats? Baba Yaga, the inspiration for the depiction of the Western witch, didn't have a pointed hat. We don't see this in any Greek mythology. If the hat makes a man, then the same can be said for the witch. But where does the witch's hat originate from? In medieval art, it's not uncommon to see witches wearing a variety of hats and headscarves. However, the pointed hat doesn't seem to be something they wore. In fact, pointed, brimless hats were actually something noble women wore. Witches also seem to reference Puritan hats. Furthermore, the Protestant and Puritan churches were actually against pointed hats, given that pointed hats were often related to imagery of horns and the devil. Later, during the Salem witch trials, those testified they saw the devil claimed he was a large black man with a high crowned hat. In 1798, Goya painted The Witch's Flight, which depicted witches in pointed hats that seemed to reference horns, almost. But if pointed hats in the Catholic tradition equate status and nobility, is it possible that Northern Protestants were trying to recode this style as devilish and dark? Witches were seen as the antithesis of the Virgin Mary, where the virgin was with child, the witch ate children. Witches were often depicted nude in an hedonistic ritual, while the virgin was covered and devoted to God. The witch's hat could have been created by artists as a way to bastardize the religious and the devout. By desecrating these symbols of religious and of the devout, they become subverted and their meaning changed. Witches were known for taking their God-given gifts and subverting them as an insult to God and as a way to show devotion to the devil. While the exact roots of witches' aesthetics remain unknown, there is evidence to suggest that after all, the look was created by artists and their visual language to code witch. If Christians really did believe that the witch was a bastardization of a woman corrupted by the devil, it would make sense that her fashion was corrupted from the religious and the devout. By taking the Puritan brimmed hats and making them long and pointed, they transform into something unholy.